Guys, it's Xander here, and we're back looking at decks in Standard. This is a Temur Naru Nexus deck that I put together for you guys, and the deck's a hell of a lot of fun. I'm just going to touch on the main board, talk about the sideboard, interactions between, and hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. So Temur and Simic Wilderness Reclamation / Nexus decks have been popping up everywhere for a good reason. It's an awesome combo. So Wilderness Reclamation, we're running into 4 of. It's for 4, 3 and a green. Enchantment sits on the battlefield. At the beginning of your end step, you untap all lands you control, which enables us to, on turn 4 if we can ramp, or turn 5, play into Nexus of Fate, because we can, on our end step, tap all our lands, they untap, tap them again. Allows us to get a lot more mana a lot earlier. The Nexus of Fate is for 7, 5 and 2 blue. At instant speed, you take an extra turn, and then you shuffle it back into your library if it was put into there from anywhere. The synergy between the two gets us the extra turns. But to go a little bit more on the synergy side of stuff, and going around a bit more of a fun theme instead of so much just outright control that you'll see in a lot of the Temur decks, we're also running a wizard tribal theme through the deck. So the namesake of the deck is Naru Meha, Master Wizard. She's for 4, so we're running her 4 of. It's a 4-cost wizard for 2 and 2 blue. It's a 3/3 legendary creature with flash, so you can play at instant speed. And then when she enters the battlefield, you can copy target instant or sorcery spell you control. You may choose new targets for the copy, and other wizards you control get +1/+1. Is legendary, but this is the effect that the copying spells effect is what we want to have happen as often as possible. And she does paint a bit of a target on her head, so fairly reliably, it's not just always going to stick around. So when we do draw another one, we're going to be able to play her. The synergy in the deck is between us being able to ramp stupid fast with the Wilderness Reclamation, us trying to play our Nexus of Fate, and having enough mana to play a Naru at the same time, so that we can get 2 extra turns out of it and just get more value out of it. To abuse the ETBs on all of our wizards, we're running 3 copies of Neban, Dean of Iteration, which is for 2, 1 and a blue, a 2/1 human wizard with, if a wizard entering the battlefield under your control causes a triggered ability of a permanent you control to trigger, that ability triggers an additional time. So all of the ETBs on any of our wizards happens twice, which means when we play, if we have a Neban out, ramping it on our normal pace, we play a Neban in the early game, we get a Wilderness Reclamation out, and then we go to do the Naru Nexus plan, we copy it twice. So we get 3 copies of Nexus, getting 3 more turns just from having a Neban and playing a Naru when we got Nexus. Insanely cool. To continue abusing that, we're also running 3 copies of Exclusion Mage, which is for 3, 2 and a blue. It's a 2/2 human wizard with, when it enters the battlefield, return target creature and opponent controls to its owner's hand. Again, doubling with Neban, being able to bounce 2 creatures back for 1. Awesome value. 4 copies of Viashino Pyromancer, which is for 2, 1 and a red. It's a 2/1 Viashino wizard. Enters the battlefield, you do 2 damage to target player or planeswalker. Again, doubling, dealing 4. Insanely good value. 2 copies of Water Trap Weaver, which is for 3, 2 and a blue. It's a 2/2 Merfolk wizard. When it enters battlefield, you tap target creature and opponent controls. That creature doesn't untap during its controller's next untap step. Tapping a creature down, can't do anything on their next turn. Neban's doubling that. Another really good effect to have in the deck. To help search for those Nexuses of Fate or combo pieces, the flip version of Search for Escanter. The Search for Escanter is for 2, legendary enchantment. At the beginning of your upkeep, you look at the top card of your library, you may put that card in your graveyard. If there are 7 or more, you may flip it. Escanter the Sunken Ruin is what it flips into. A legendary land that has tap add blue, or you can 3 tap, look at the top 4. Then you can pick a non-creature, non-lane card from among them, put that card in your hand, and the rest onto the bottom. So it allows us to search for Nexus of Fate on our end step, Wilderness Reclamation and untap. Then we can tap them down again, play the Nexus of Fate that we just got out of our 4 cards deep in our library. You'll see a lot of the Temur decks are running 4 copies of Search. We're just running 2 because it's not the whole game plan. We want to try and have some fun with the wizards at the same time. With the ridiculous amount of ramp that we get from Wilderness Reclamation, we're also running 2 copies of Expansion to Explosion. Expansion's for 2. At instant speed, you copy target instant or sorcery spell with converted mana cost 4 or less, and you may choose new targets for the copy. An Explosion is X and 4, 2 blue and 2 red. At instant speed, Explosion deals X damage to any target, and then target player draws X cards. So we can deal shitload of damage to them, and we draw X cards. Being able to Expansion or Explosion one of our other spells, or being able to Expansion one of our other spells and do the Naru Neban plan, copying it a couple of times, being able to play Growth Spiral and draw 4 or 5 cards off it and play 4 or 5 lands. Another really cool way that we can ramp in the deck. Chemist's Insight, getting a couple of those off. Again, drawing shitloads of cards, or playing Explosion for a decent amount of mana, and then doing, the Naru plan, copying it a couple of times. We draw a shitload of cards, deal them 2-3 times X. Crazy damage. Adding to the damage, we're also running 3 copies of Lightning Strike, which is for 2, 1, and a red. At instant speed, you deal 3 damage to any target. This is another perfect example of a card that can be targeted by Expansion or the Naru, and with the Neban Naru plan, being able to, for 2 I play Lightning Strike, I've already got Neban out, play Naru, copy it, deal 9 damage, and just outright win a game. If we're playing stuff on curve in this deck, it's just damage coming again and again. We're constantly tapping their creatures down and getting our damage through, tapping their creatures down and they can't untap, so again, we're getting more damage through. Ramping with Growth Spirals, which we're running a 4 of, for 2, green and a blue. At instant speed, you draw a card, and then you may put a land card from your hand onto the battlefield. Allows us to get some early game ramp, so we can play Wilderness Reclamation earlier, or any one of our other combo pieces. And to finish off the spells, we're running 4 copies of Chemist's Insight, which is for 4, 3, and a blue. At instant speed, you draw 2 cards, and it's got Jumpstart, so as an additional cost to play it again from your graveyard, discard a card. Insanely good. Another one of the cards that synergizes well with the Wilderness Reclamation, doing all this stuff at instant speed, playing Naru at flash speed, playing all of our instants on our end step with all the mana that we're going to get. It's the whole reason the deck works, and it's great. Touching on the land base here, we're running 4 copies of Steam Vents, which is a Island Mountain, comes in tapped unless you pay 2 life. 4 copies of Sulphur Falls, which comes in tapped unless you control an island or mountain. 4 copies of Hinterland Harbour, comes in tapped unless you control a forest or island. 4 copies of Breeding Pool, which is a forest island, comes in tapped unless you pay 2 life. 2 copies of Stomping Ground. I chose this over Rootbound Crag because we want to be able to have it come in untapped as often as possible, and at the expense of a couple of life, Stomping Ground was definitely the way to go. So it's a mountain forest that comes in tapped unless you pay 2 life. 2 islands and a single mountain. Not running a whole lot of protection in the main board here, because the deck's kind of really devoted to the whole combo side of it. If you did want to add, one of the suggestions I would add would be some copies of Blink of an Eye, because then we can bounce stuff like our Naru back to our hand and draw a card off it as well. Pseudo protection, or stuff like Dive Down, super cheap, another good alternative. Spell Pierce is another good one. I'm just not sure what you'd cut out of the main deck. I'm pretty happy with how the main deck actually performs. The deck's a hell of a lot of fun, it's great. Just touching on the sideboard here. For the Planeswalker matchups, we're running 3 copies of Sorcerer's Spyglass. Enters battlefield, you look at the target player's hand, choose any card name. Activated abilities of the source of the chosen name can't be activated unless they're mana abilities. O's Planeswalkers, they just can't do anything. Some counter magic in the form of Negate. So for 2, at instant speed, you counter target non-creature spell. Dive Downs, which is what I was talking about before, in the sideboard, 2 copies. For 1 blue, at instant speed, target creature gets 0, 3, and hexproof until end of turn. A single copy of Spell Pierce. 1 blue at instant speed, counter target non-creature spell unless the controller pays 2. Great for stuff like Settle the Wreckage that quite often will be played on curve, or if they're trying to interrupt our game plan for the Nexus Naru thing. A couple of copies of Fiery Cannonade. Now, our creatures aren't pirates. Against an aggro matchup, or you're in a token matchup, and we're just getting outpaced by creatures, being able to pull the trigger on this and play Fiery Cannonade can just be a way out of the game. So for 3, 2, and a red, at instant speed, you deal 2 damage to each non-pirate creature. 3 copies of Crushing Canopy. This is one that I've seen popping up in the Temur decks. I don't mind it. I think it's pretty good. A lot of the other times I'll run stuff like Vivian, but this is cheaper, and it's at instant speed, so it allows us to kind of do a little bit more. So it's for 3, 2, and a green. At instant speed, you can choose one of the following. You can either destroy target creature with flying, or destroy target enchantment. Destroying enchantments is really relevant in standard at the moment. Again, Temur decks running stuff like Wilderness Reclamation, Gates decks running Guild Summits, all these other decks running Search for Escantas, all of these really valued enchantments. And some of the best creatures in standard at the moment are flying creatures. So being able to just, at instant speed, no, I'm going to kill your creature. I play a 5 mana Lyra. I don't care, 3 mana, yours is dead. Have fun with it. It's a really good card, and it's a great answer for stuff like that. And to finish off the sideboard, we're running a single copy of Electro Dominance, which is for X and 2 red. At instant speed, Electro Dominance deals X damage to any target, and you may cast a card with converted mana cost X or less from your hand without paying its mana cost. So that allows us to play any one of our creatures at instant speed, we can play our Wilderness Reclamation at instant speed. It gives anything that we want flash, essentially, because it's making whatever we want at instant speed be able to play it. It's also another card that we can spend all of our mana into, being able to deal X damage is always going to be good, and we can copy it, and it's another target that we can copy with Naru, so that we can play Electro Dominance for a lot of mana. Neban's already out, we play a Naru, we get a few copies of it, and we can play all of these wizards or all of whatever we want at instant speed out of our hand. It's an awesome card, and I can't wait to play a bit with it in Modern. It's going to be great. So that is the sideboard, and that is the main deck, and that is Naru Nexus in Standard. Hopefully you enjoyed it, guys. Thanks. Thanks for watching, guys. As always, don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and hit the bell icon to see new videos as they were released. If you like what I do and you want to support the channel, you can throw me $1 on my Patreon at patreon.com/SandersQuest. And I will see you guys in the next video. Keep questing, guys.